You have been sitting here for a while now, not long by any measure you could name. There is no measure. But long enough that your weight has settled fully into the ground, long enough that the muscles in your lower back have stopped holding and started simply resting. The stone beneath you is not uncomfortable. It is just present. Solid. Slightly warm from where the sun has touched it. You are watching the edge of the tree line. Not because something is there. Because something might be. Because two people went in that direction this morning when the light was still low and the air smelled of damp earth and yesterday's rain, and they have not come back yet. And so you watch. Not anxiously. Not with dread, just with the particular kind of attention that a person learns when watching is the only useful thing they can do. This is waiting. Not the waiting of a person who has somewhere else to be. Not the kind that feels like a small punishment or theft of time. This is waiting as a practice. Waiting as a way of being present in a particular place at a particular moment, when there is nothing else to do but stay, and notice, and let time pass at whatever pace it chooses. Wherever you are as you listen, if you enjoy this kind of calm, unhurried storytelling, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. And if this kind of quiet feels like something you genuinely want more of, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's always interesting to see where these quiet moments find people. Now come back. The tree line is still there. The air is still. A bird somewhere in the branches has been repeating the same sound for longer than you've been paying attention to it. You hadn't noticed when it started. You notice it now. Then the bird stops, and the absence of the sound is its own small event. You wait some more. Early humans almost certainly developed a relationship with waiting that we have largely lost. Research suggests that before the constant availability of distraction, waiting was not experienced as empty time. It was occupied time. Time filled with body, breath, awareness, and the slow accumulation of sensory information from the world immediately around you. There was nowhere else to put your attention, and so it went here. To the tree line, to the quality of the light, to the faint soreness in your left shoulder from yesterday, from carrying wood a longer distance than usual, to the sound of children somewhere behind you, playing a game that involves a lot of running and very little noise, to the smell of something drying on a flat stone near the fire, strips of meat laid out this morning already changing color at their edges. You are not thinking about these things exactly. You are just receiving them. That is what waiting felt like in a world without interruption. It felt like being very gently, very fully in a place. The sun moves. Slowly. You don't track it, but you feel its angle shift on the side of your face. It was on your cheek before. Now it has moved slightly toward your forehead. That is time passing. That is the only clock there is, and it is completely unreliable in the way that the most honest clocks always are. You shift your weight. One leg had been falling toward sleep, that slow, buzzing pressure in the thigh that happens when you sit still too long. You move. You resettle. You watch the tree line again. Nothing yet. The fire circle is 20 paces behind you. Someone is tending it. You can hear the occasional soft collapse of embers, the sound of breath applied to low flame, a single quiet pop from wood finding its weakest point. You don't look. You know the sounds. You know what they mean. Nothing needs your attention there. Earlier this morning, you spent a long time helping with fire, not making it, waiting for it to hold. That is its own particular kind of waiting, and it is different from this one. Waiting for fire is active waiting. You must stay close. You must watch without staring too hard. You must be ready to respond to the smallest shift in the ember, the faintest curl of smoke that might become something, if you are careful, if you don't breathe wrong. You had held a bundle of dry grass and crumbled leaves cupped in your hands, and you had waited for the coal to decide. The coal is not something you can rush. You've tried. Everyone has tried. Blowing too hard kills it. Not blowing enough lets it cool. You have to find the pace of the coal, the rhythm it wants, and match yourself to it. That morning it had taken a long time. Long enough that your hands began to sweat despite the cool air. Long enough that someone came to look over your shoulder and then walked away again without saying anything. Long enough that you wondered whether this was the morning it wouldn't work. And then it caught. A single thin thread of smoke became a small glow, and then the glow spread with a sound like a word being said very softly, and the grass in your hands began to burn. You set it down quickly, breathed on it from the side, waited while it grew. Then you left it to the person whose job it was, and walked here to this stone to watch the tree line. The children have moved somewhere. You can hear them faintly, further away now, their voices carrying the particular music of children completely absorbed in something. Not quite words, not quite play sounds, just the continuous rhythm of small people spending time together with no particular goal. That sound has been in the background the whole morning. It is only because it shifts in pitch and distance that you notice it at all. Behind you, the meat on the stone is doing what it does when left alone. Drying, slowly losing its moisture to the dry air, slowly becoming something that will last longer than it would have otherwise. This requires no watching. It requires only time, and adequate heat, and being left alone, and all of these things are available here in abundance. Waiting on food is one of the more patient kinds of waiting. When something is over the fire, when there is actual heat involved, the waiting has a different texture. You can't wander too far. The smell changes as it cooks, and the changes require attention, require someone to be near enough to notice when the smell shifts from almost to done, from cooking to the edge of burning. That waiting keeps you close to the fire, turning the food occasionally, checking the underside by touch or smell, measuring time entirely through the nose. But drying is slower, less demanding. The meat will be ready when it is ready, and no amount of attention will make it ready sooner. You've known this since you were small. There is no negotiating with drying meat. You look away from the tree line for a moment, not because you've given up, but because your eyes needed to go somewhere else. A cloud has been moving across the sky all morning, a broad, high thing that keeps changing its shape so slowly you never see it change, only notice afterward that it's different. It is different now from what it was. Thinner on the left side, thicker and darker on the right. Weather is in it, maybe, or maybe not. The sky doesn't say clearly. It never does. You look back at the tree line. Nothing. You are not worried. Worry would be premature. People go into the trees and they come back. This is what usually happens. There are things in the trees that is always true. But there are also two capable people who know those trees, who have been in them more times than you can count, who know where the ground goes soft and where the light changes and where certain animals like to rest in the afternoon heat. They will come back. You wait. The ground near your left foot is dry and pale. There was rain 2 days ago, and before that the ground had been darker, denser, with a smell that came up when you walked. That smell is mostly gone now. The surface has dried back to its usual dusty self, and small cracks have appeared in the clay not far from where you sit. You've been watching one crack in particular, not intentionally, not as a project, but because it is there and you are here and your eyes go to it sometimes. It is perhaps the length of your finger. It has not changed while you've been sitting. It will not change today. But you look at it anyway. This is what a long period of waiting does to attention. It doesn't dull it. It spreads it out. The crack in the clay. The cloud. The bird that has started up again. The smell of the drying meat. The distant voices. The angle of the sun. None of these are important, and none can be ignored entirely, because in the absence of anything more pressing, everything becomes slightly present. Everything gets a small portion of your notice. Research suggests that this kind of distributed attention, sometimes called soft vigilance, was likely the default state of early humans spending long periods outdoors in familiar environments. Not focused, not unfocused, something in between. Alert to everything without concentrating on any one thing, the way an animal rests but does not sleep. You know this feeling. You are in it now. The wind shifts, slightly, just enough to bring a different quality of air from the direction of the water somewhere to the north, not visible from here but close enough to feel in the air on warm days, a coolness that the land doesn't have on its own. You feel it on your forearm. Then it is gone. A sound from the tree line. You are alert before you have decided to be. Your posture straightens without instruction. Your eyes go to the movement at the edge of the trees where shadow meets open ground, and you wait the very short additional wait that tells you what the sound was, what the movement means. 2 people step out of the trees. They are carrying things. They are walking normally. They are talking to each other in low voices. You relax. Not in a dramatic way. There is no release of held breath, no visible softening. The alertness just quietly backs away, leaving the same ordinary distributed attention that was there before. You were watching. Now you have seen. Now you can stop watching this particular thing. You stay on the stone a little longer, anyway. The 2 people who came back from the trees pass behind you, heading toward the fire. One of them says something to the fire tender. The fire tender responds. There is a soft thud, something set down on the ground. Then quiet. You get up slowly. Your legs have been still for long enough that standing takes a moment of deliberate arrangement. You press your palms to your knees. You straighten. The stone you were sitting on is just a stone now, ordinary again, slightly warmer than the ground around it. You walk toward the fire. The middle of the day is often the slowest kind of time. Not because less is happening, more, in some ways, is happening, because this is when the heat settles in and the camp spreads itself out into its loose afternoon arrangement. People near the fire and people farther from it. People resting and people working with their hands. People eating small things and people doing nothing in particular at all. But it has a specific weight. The middle of the day. The light is flat and high and unhelpful for reading the landscape. The shadows are short, which is disorienting in a way that's hard to name. You can't tell direction easily when the shadow is directly beneath your feet. You can't tell much from the sun when it is directly above. The day is not going anywhere yet, it is just being there, in full. You sit near the fire now, not close enough to be warm, close enough to be near other people. Someone across from you is working leather. The sound is rhythmic, a slow scraping, a pause, a slow scraping again. They've been doing it for a long time, longer than you've been sitting here. Longer, probably, than you know. It is the kind of work that you can do while your mind does something else entirely, which is its own strange form of waiting. Your hands wait for your mind. Your mind wanders while your hands remember what to do. You watch them work for a while. Not because it's interesting. Because it's there. The hunger arrives gradually. The way it always does in the middle of the day. Not suddenly. Not as a sharp pang. As a slow shift in your body's attention, a quiet drawing inward. A mild request. You are not starving. You ate this morning, not a lot, but enough to begin a day. The hunger is just informing you that time has passed, that the morning is genuinely over, that the body has processed what was given to it and is now curious about what might come next. This is also a kind of waiting. Hunger, when it isn't urgent, is a clock. It tells you where you are in the day. It is generally reliable, though it is thrown off by hard work, by cold, by heat, by stress, by days when there is no food, and the body learns a different kind of patience. On ordinary days, days like this one, the hunger mid-morning tells you that time has been passing. And the hunger again in the afternoon tells you that more time has passed, and by then you know the shape of the day without needing to see the sun. You don't do anything about the hunger yet. It is not demanding. It will wait. You wait with it. The fire pops. The leather worker pauses, looks up at nothing in particular, then goes back to their work. Waiting for weather is perhaps the most open kind of waiting. It has no clear beginning and no guaranteed end. You can see it building, the way the clouds change, the way the air changes before it does, the way certain sounds seem to come from farther away when a change is coming, the way animals adjust their behavior in the hours before rain. But you cannot say when. You can only say soon, or not yet, or maybe. The cloud from this morning has grown. The left side has filled in and the whole thing has moved closer to the south, which means it is also moving closer to here. The color at the bottom is darker than it was. You noticed it when you walked to the water earlier, carrying water back in whatever vessel you had, the smell of the air already thicker, already carrying something. Other people have noticed too. Someone moved some things that had been left in the open. Someone added more wood to the fire. These are small adjustments, done without discussion, done because the sky says something is coming and the body knows how to respond to the sky before the mind has finished thinking about it. Now you wait for the rain. Not watching the sky continuously, just aware of it. Attending to it lightly, the way you might attend to a sound that is not yet concerning, but that you want to be ready for. The sky sits in a corner of your awareness all afternoon. It doesn't demand full attention. It asks only to be included. You sit near the fire. You eat something small. You watch the camp without any particular focus, the people moving, the people sitting, the light changing very slowly from high and flat to something slightly lower and warmer, slightly more orange at its edges. This is the part of waiting that most resembles nothing. There is nothing to report. Nothing has changed. Nothing has resolved, and yet time has passed. You can feel it in the slight shift of your body toward a lower energy. Feel it in the way the hunger from before has quieted after eating. Feel it in the easy way your back settles when you shift position. The day is progressing. It is simply progressing without urgency. Early humans spent significant amounts of time in exactly this kind of middle-day stillness. Not sleeping, not working, not traveling. Simply present. Research on modern hunter-gatherer groups suggests that this period of low activity in the middle of the day might represent as much as several hours, time that is not wasted but occupied in the quietest possible sense. You are occupying it now. The afternoon continues. The rain comes slowly. First, a smell, then a sound on the leaves at the edge of the trees, irregular, soft. The sound of something beginning, then a drop on your arm and another somewhere near the fire, and then it is raining, properly raining, not hard but steady, and the camp adjusts the way it always does when rain comes. People move toward shelter, not running, walking in the particular unhurried way of people who have been rained on many times and know it is not an emergency. Children are called, not urgently, just called. The fire tender does something to the fire that involves a piece of bark and careful placement and a particular kind of patience. You are under an overhang of rock. There are 3 other people there. One of them is already half asleep, leaning against the stone with a stillness that is different from the stillness of waiting. The other 2 are not talking. They are simply there, watching the rain fall on the open ground between shelter and treeline. You watch with them. Rain is a long kind of waiting. You don't know how long it will last. It may stop in moments, or it may go on until dark. You have no way of telling. The sky is gray-white and even, and it tells you nothing except that the rain is still there and means to stay for a while. You feel the cool air on your forearms. You feel the slight damp where the rain has come in under the overhang. Your feet, which were warm from the afternoon, are cooling quickly. This waiting has a sound. The rain on the open ground. The rain on the leaves. The rain on the rock above you. A duller sound, almost muffled. The fire, which is still going but lower now, its crackling softened by the wet air, and underneath all of it, The ordinary sounds of people settled into shelter. The small sounds of people in a shared space, quiet, breathing, waiting together for a change they cannot control. Someone shifts beside you, adjusts their legs. You feel the movement without seeing it. You watch the rain. There is nothing to do. This is not a problem. The place where boredom and watchfulness meet is interesting, if you stay long enough to feel it. At first, when nothing is happening and you are confined to a small space by the rain, there is something that might be called restlessness. A low-level dissatisfaction with stillness. A vague wish that something were happening or that something needed doing. Your hands want something to hold. Your feet consider standing up, walking a few steps, and then sit back down because there is nowhere particular to go. This passes. Not quickly, slowly the way most things pass when you can't speed them along. The restlessness runs its course and something else takes its place, something more settled, more accepting. The rain becomes just the rain, not an obstacle, but a condition. The shelter becomes just where you are. The waiting stops feeling like waiting and starts feeling more like simply being somewhere. This shift is not nothing. It takes a real amount of time and a real kind of patience, and when it arrives it feels less like relief and more like arrival. You have arrived at stillness. Not found it, not forced it. Arrived. The overhang drips at one edge. Irregular drops, varying amounts of water. A sound that is both predictable and not. You find yourself partly tracking it not consciously but in the way you might track any pattern that is present and slightly interesting. One drop. Pause. Two drops close together. Longer pause. One drop. The person who was asleep has now slipped fully into sleep. You can hear it in their breathing, slower, deeper, the kind of breath that doesn't come from someone who is simply resting. You are not sleepy. You are just there. Rain on the camp changes the way everything smells. The earth, which had been dry and dusty, is releasing something it held. A deep, wet smell that comes up from below, from whatever lives inside the ground and doesn't usually announce itself. The trees at the edge of the camp are releasing their own smell, something green and slightly bitter. The rock above you, wet now, smells like old stone, flat and mineral and slightly cold. These smells come to you without effort. You don't go to them. They come. This is how a lot of waiting works in a place like this. The world brings things to you. Light and dark, heat and cold, sound and silence, smell and the absence of smell. You receive them. You don't have to reach. Modern research on sensory experience in natural settings suggests that humans are remarkably well designed to receive the natural world passively. That this kind of ambient sensory input, what some researchers call soft fascination, calms the nervous system and allows a kind of sustained attention that directed. Deliberate focus does not. In the ancient world, this wasn't a theory. It was just the experience of waiting somewhere quiet long enough to stop resisting it. You've stopped resisting. The rain is lighter now. Still steady, but lighter. The drops on the open ground have gone from raising small round craters in the dust to simply falling without any visible impact. The ground is past absorption and is just wet now, and the water runs along the surface in small, thin channels, finding the easiest path, which is always downhill, which is something water knows without being told. You watch a small channel of water work its way across the ground toward the far edge of the camp. It moves slowly. Then it stops, because something, a small ridge in the earth, a stone, has interrupted it. Then it finds a way around. Then it continues. You watch it until it disappears behind something and you can't see it anymore. Then you watch the rain. The rain stops in the late afternoon. Not dramatically. It has been lightning for a while, and then it is over, and the silence where the sound was is its own kind of sound for a moment. A slight ringing absence, a noticing of what was there. People begin to move. Small movements at first. A stretching of arms. A standing up. The person who had been sleeping wakes without any fuss, looks at the changed light, seems to understand immediately where they are in the day, and simply gets up. The fire needs attention. The camp has a dampness to it that will need to dry before night. There are things to check, things to move back to where they were before the rain came. But this is all familiar. This has happened before. The camp after rain has a rhythm to it just like everything else. You help with the fire. Someone hands you a piece of dry bark that had been kept under cover. You place it where it will help, and you wait, again, for the fire to do what it does. This is a shorter wait than the morning one. The fire is still there, just lower. It doesn't need to start over, only to grow again. You watch the edges of the bark brown, and then catch the thin wisps of smoke, the moment when the wood underneath feels the new heat and begins to respond. The fire grows. Someone puts more wood on it. Someone else sits down near it. The camp regathers around the warmth, pulling inward as the sun begins to make its slow way toward the horizon. Evening waiting is different from afternoon waiting. There is a direction to it. The day has been long and is now clearly ending, and the waiting in the evening has that knowledge built into it. You are waiting toward something, toward dark, toward rest, toward the closing of the day. The waiting is not open-ended. It has a destination. The light is different now. Warmer. Lower. It catches the smoke from the fire and makes it golden. It makes the far edge of the treeline darker, the shadows longer, the space between the trees a deeper black than it was at noon. Someone is working near the fire, grinding something between two stones, a slow, repetitive motion that makes a low, rough sound. It has been going on for a while. It will probably go on for a while more. The work doesn't seem to need attention. The hands know what to do. You eat in the evening, more than at midday. The body knows it is the last meal before the long dark, and it is hungrier now in a way that feels different from the midday hunger, more settled, more ready. Eating in the evening feels deliberate. Final, like closing something gently. The fire is strong now after its rain-diminished afternoon. The light from it pushes back the growing dark around the edges of the camp. You feel it on your face, not quite hot, warm. the right amount of warm for a body that has spent a day in and out of the cool air. The grinding sound stops. Whoever was grinding sits back, stretches their neck, sets the stones aside. Quiet. There is a kind of waiting that happens only at the edge of dark. It is not the same as the daytime waiting. The daytime waiting is patient but open. Things can happen at any time. The day holds possibility in all directions, and the waiting is simply a way of not doing anything specific while remaining ready. The evening waiting is narrower. You are waiting for the day to close. You are waiting for the last sounds of activity to slow. You are waiting for the camp to quiet down. And as you wait for it, it happens. Children settle. The sounds they were making at a distance, closer, at a distance again, gradually consolidate into one place. Someone with them makes a low repeated sound. The children grow quieter. Someone adds a small piece of wood to the fire, not to build it up, but to maintain what's there. Somewhere nearby, two people are talking in low voices, not a conversation you are part of, just a sound, the rhythm of speech, the pauses, the responses, that tells you other people are still awake, still there but turning inward. You are not part of their conversation. You are not excluded from it. You are simply adjacent to it, in the way that all the people in a small group are always slightly adjacent to each other's moments. The fire dims slightly as the evening goes on. This is allowed. No one is going to build it back up now. It will do what it does, burn down slowly, hold its warmth in the coals long after the flame is gone. Keep the space around it warmer than the dark beyond its edges. You wait in the warmth while it lasts. The stars come out the way they always do, which is to say quietly and without announcement. 1. Then 2 or 3 more while you weren't watching. Then, suddenly, when you look again, many, the kind of many that makes the space above you feel very large and very old. The kind of many that does something to the way time feels, that makes an evening feel smaller in comparison, which strangely makes it feel more precious. You don't study them. You don't search them for meaning, or if you do, the meaning is not in words, not in names or stories, just in the particular feeling that comes from looking at something very large and very far away for a long time. The feeling is not nothing. It is not emptiness. It is something closer to proportion, a small, useful sense of how big things are. The fire is low, orange-red at the coals, darker at the edges where the ash is taking over. The people who were talking have stopped talking. The camp is mostly still. This is the long part of the night. Not the sleeping part, not yet, but the settling part, the part where everyone is still awake but quiet, where the darkness has come fully in and taken the last of the day's business with it, and there is nothing left to wait for except rest. You are aware of your body in the way you only are when you are still and warm and the day has used you well. Your feet, which walked some distance today. Your arms, which carried things. Your back, which held your weight on a stone for a long time while you watched the tree line. All of this is present now, not as pain, but as a kind of gentle accounting. The body keeping its records. The hunger is gone, which is good. The cold has not yet arrived, which is also good. You are in the narrow warm space between these two things, and it will not last forever, but for now it is comfortable in a plain and simple way. Someone near you has already lain down. You can tell without looking. You are not yet ready to sleep. You are waiting in the last way of the day, waiting to be ready, waiting for the weight that comes before sleep, that specific heaviness behind the eyes, that gradual slowing of thought from something coherent to something that is almost thought but not quite, like words said softly in a language you almost know. You wait. The fire holds its coals. The stars are there. In the morning, the waiting starts again. You have slept, and the dark has passed, and the first light is not yet light. It is only the ending of the deepest dark, a faint gray suggestion of what will eventually be day. The camp is still. The fire has gone down to almost nothing, just the faintest warmth still alive in the center of yesterday's wood. You are awake before you meant to be. This happens. Something, a sound, a shift in temperature, some internal signal that knows the shape of night, brought you up before the day was ready. You lie still for a moment, feeling the particular heaviness of not quite enough sleep, the slight disorientation of early waking. Then you sit up. The gray light is coming from the east. Not fast, not dramatically, just coming, steadily the way a tide comes, slowly enough that you can't see it change, quickly enough that change is happening. You wait for the light. This is the oldest kind of waiting. It may be the first kind. The waiting for day to return, for the darkness to give back what it borrowed. Before you learned to name the sun or understand its path, before you could have said what you were waiting for, you waited for it. Something in the body knows that dark ends. Something in the body knows to wait for light. The gray deepens and then lightens. First, the shapes of things become distinct. The outline of the trees, the bulk of the rock, the pale shape of ash where the fire was. Then color begins to come back, slowly, in the particular order it always arrives, browns and greens first, then the pale blue of the sky, then eventually, at the edge of things, the warmth of it. You sit very still in the early light. This is the quietest waiting there is. Someone else is awake. You can tell by the sound of movement, careful and slow, the movement of someone trying not to wake the others. They come to the fire. They do what needs doing, find the coals, find the dry material kept close against the cold of night, begin the patient work of morning fire. You watch without offering to help. Not because you wouldn't, because they don't need it, and because you are in the middle of something, in the middle of the morning's particular quality, the particular way the world looks when it is still deciding whether to be day. The fire tender works quietly. You can hear the soft sound of breath on coals, the small crackling that means something is catching. You can smell it, burning grass first, then wood. The fire comes back. Light comes back. The camp stirs slowly, the way it always does, each person returning from wherever they went in the night and taking a moment to locate themselves in the morning. You know the feeling. You are still doing it yourself, taking in the camp, the light, the quality of the air, reading the day's early conditions the way you would read any landscape you were about to travel into. Today will be warm. The air has that quality, dry, already lighter than yesterday, without the dense, wet feeling that preceded the rain. The sky is clear where yesterday it was heavy. Good conditions for something, not bad conditions for anything. You wait to see what the day will need. There is a waiting that is not passive. You discover this mid-morning, when the work of the day has been laid out but not yet begun, when the decisions have not yet been made about who goes where, who stays, what needs to happen. You are sitting, but your sitting is different from the sitting of yesterday. This sitting is poised. There is something underneath it, a readiness, a slight forward lean inside the body that doesn't show on the outside. You are waiting to be needed, to be told what the day requires of you, or waiting to know yourself if you'll decide it independently. This is a different kind of attention from watching the tree line. That was outward attention. This is something more inward, and attending to the situation, to the group, to what is already moving and what is still waiting to move. Someone speaks. A short sequence of sounds that means something. A plan, a direction, a need. The readiness in your body responds before your mind has finished understanding. You are already moving. The waiting ends. For now. You are walking when the next waiting begins. You have been walking for a while. The land here is not flat. There are rises and descents, areas of open grass and areas where the walking is slower, where the ground is rockier or wetter or harder to read. You know parts of this route well, other parts less so. You keep your eyes on what is ahead of you, on the ground, on the tree line at a distance, on the sky which has remained clear all morning. The people with you have stopped. You stopped too. No word was said. Someone simply stopped, and everyone behind them stopped too. There is a moment of complete stillness. Everyone looks in the same direction. Something in the distance, an animal? A shape in the grass? Difficult to tell. The group reads it together, each person contributing a slightly different angle, a slightly different reading of the evidence. The animal, if it is an animal, is not moving. That is both good and not good. Good because it hasn't run, not good because it may have already noticed you. You wait. Your weight is distributed forward slightly on your feet. Your breathing has slowed without instruction. Your eyes are fixed on the place in the tall grass where something may or may not be. This is a specific kind of waiting that has existed as long as there have been people who needed to eat and animals that did not want to be caught. It is concentrated waiting. Every part of you is slightly more awake than it normally is, not with anxiety but with a particular focused readiness, like a string held at the right tension, not slack, not about to break but resonant. The shape in the grass moves. The wrong kind of move it's leaving, not approaching. It knew you were there before you knew it was there. The group relaxes slightly. You continue walking. When you stop to rest on the walk back, the waiting is easy and pleasant. You are tired in a simple, clean way. Your legs have worked, your lungs have worked, your attention has been working all morning, and now you sit on the ground in a place where there is some shade, where the air moves slightly, and you wait for everyone to have what they need before moving again. Someone drinks from whatever they're carrying. Someone sets down their load and rolls their shoulders back. One person moves to a slightly higher spot and looks back the way you came, checking without making a task of it. You eat something small. You are not very hungry yet, But eating is part of resting, part of the ritual of stopping, and it will be needed before you reach home. The shade here is good, dappled. A tree with enough leaves to filter the sun but not to block it completely so the light comes through in patches, moving slightly in the wind, making the ground look like it is breathing. You have rested in this kind of shade before. It is one of the reliable small pleasures. You wait for everyone to be ready. There is no particular moment when you know it's time. You simply feel it, the shift from resting to ready. The way the group begins to gather itself back. The way people pick up what they set down. Without discussion, the rest ends, and the walking resumes. The afternoon at the camp again has its particular weight. You are back. The walking is over. Your load has been set down and sorted, and whatever it was is now part of the camp stock kept in the right place, ready for what comes next. And now there is nothing specific to do. This kind of waiting, the waiting of an afternoon with no task, when the body is pleasantly tired but not exhausted, when there is light still in the sky but enough of it that the remaining hours feel like a gift rather than a demand, this kind of waiting is perhaps the most comfortable there is. You find a place to sit. Not the same stone as yesterday. A different spot, a slight depression in the ground near the edge of the camp, where the grass is a little longer and the view is open in two directions. You sit. You let your weight settle. The afternoon light is the best light of the day. This you have always believed without thinking about it, the quality of the light when the sun has passed its peak and is beginning its long descent. When shadows come back and things have edges again, when color is richer and the air feels less flattened by heat. You watch the camp from here. Nothing you are watching requires watching. The fire is managed, the children are visible, the people working are working without any need of oversight. You are watching because it is pleasant to watch, to be slightly outside something and see it from a slight distance, to let the afternoon activity of the camp pass through your vision the way a river passes a riverbank. Someone laughs. A sudden, real sound. You look toward it, but don't see what it was about. The sound passes. The camp goes on. The slow parts of the afternoon blur into each other. This is not a failure of attention. It is what happens when time passes without incident and without interruption. It blurs, not in the way of inattention or distraction, but in the way of genuine continuity, where one moment extends naturally into the next and there is no boundary between them, no event to serve as a marker. Research on time perception suggests that humans measure time more accurately when events are happening, when there are clear markers, clear transitions. Without those markers, time compresses in memory but feels expanded in experience. An hour of sitting in a quiet afternoon may feel long while you are in it, and then be recalled as an undifferentiated blur later, a sense of afternoon without specific content. You are in that blur now. The sun is lower. You've been here a while. The shade has moved. The shadow of the tree that was to your left is now slightly behind you, which tells you something about the passage of time without telling you exactly what. The air is cooler at the edges. Not yet cool, but cooler. You think about nothing in particular. This is harder to describe than almost anything else about waiting, because thinking about nothing in particular is not the absence of thought, It is thought in its loosest, most undirected form. Images and feelings and half-formed impressions that come and go like the shifting light. A memory of something from before. A vague awareness of being hungry again. The shape of a stone. Nothing that requires response. Nothing that goes anywhere. You let it pass through. There is a child near you. You didn't notice when they arrived. They are sitting in the long grass a few paces away, not looking at you, not doing anything specific, picking at a stem, watching something near the ground, existing in the particular self-contained way of young children who have wandered from one place to another without clear intention. The child picks up something small, looks at it, sets it down, picks it up again. You watch without interfering. This is a kind of waiting, too. Waiting while someone else is near. Being present in a shared space without the expectation of interaction, allowing the other person their own occupation. The child is not concerned with you. You are not concerned with the child in any immediate sense. You are both simply there in the same warm afternoon, each in your own relationship with the passing of time. The child eventually gets up and wanders back toward the center of the camp, carrying the small thing they found. Or not carrying it, you don't see. The grass where they were sitting is slightly flattened. The fire needs feeding again in the late afternoon. This is a reliable waiting, the waiting that comes with keeping fire. Fire doesn't announce that it needs feeding. It simply begins to diminish, first in height, then in sound, then in heat at the edges of its circle. You have to watch for these signs if you want to maintain it at the right level, and watching for them is a very quiet, sustained form of attention. You add wood when it's needed, not before. Not so much that the fire roars up and wastes itself. Just enough to keep it where it is, steady, warm, doing its simple, permanent job. The wood catches. The fire settles. You wait to make sure it holds. It holds. Later, when the light is fully golden and the shadows are long and the day is clearly, unmistakably closing, there is a quality of waiting that is the most gentle of all. You are tired now, not badly, comfortably. The kind of tired that feels earned and clean. Your body knows what has been asked of it today, the morning stillness, the walk, the return, the afternoon in the grass, and it is settling toward its natural resolution, the long rest that comes after a long day. The people around the fire are in the same place. Everyone's energy has moved in the same direction. The talk is quieter. The movements are slower. The fire, fed well in the afternoon, is burning down steadily and no one is in a hurry to stop it. You sit and wait for the day to finish, not with impatience, without it. Someone speaks, a few words, something short, answered with something equally short. The conversation doesn't develop into anything. It doesn't need to. It was just a small acknowledgement of shared presence, the verbal equivalent of being in the same place at the same time. The stars are beginning. One at a time. Here is something true about long waiting in a world without distraction. It changes you by the end of the day. Not profoundly, not permanently, but in the way that a day spent outside changes you, you are more settled, more quiet inside. The body has been used but not exhausted. The mind has been attending to things all day, but without the specific sharpness of focus, without the drain of deliberate concentration. It has been soft, open, receiving. There is a tiredness to this that is different from the tiredness of hard work. It is a stillness tiredness, a being outside all day tiredness, the kind that settles gently, that doesn't ache, that simply makes rest feel very appealing and very near. You have waited today through small events and long spaces between them, through fire and rain and walking and return, through a child in the grass and the low talk of people at evening and the particular quality of stars coming out on a clear night. None of it was dramatic. All of it was real. The fire is coals now, orange and steady, barely any flame but warm still, warmer than the air around it, which has gone cool in the way of late nights after clear days. You are close enough to feel it on your hands. The camp is mostly sleeping. You are not yet sleeping, but you are close. The line between waiting and sleeping is thin at this end of the day, thinner than any other time. The thoughts that come now are loose and unheld, more images than ideas, more feelings than thoughts. You think of the sound of the rain, of the child with the small thing from the grass, of the shape in the tall grass that was an animal leaving, not arriving, of the crack in the clay near the stone you sat on yesterday. None of these require anything from you. They are just there, in the warmth of the ending day, in the coal's soft light. You wait to sleep. You have been waiting all day, in one form or another, waiting for fire, for weather, for return, for food, for light, for dark, for the right moment in a long walk, for rest. Waiting while working, waiting while watching, waiting while sitting in shade that moved slowly as the afternoon moved. And the waiting was not nothing. It was not the absence of living. It was living, at a pace that the body understands but modern life has largely made unavailable. It was time experienced as texture, as weight, as quality rather than as distance between events. You are tired in the right way. The last thing the fire does is glow. After the flame is gone and the embers have settled and what's left is just the coals, the fire glows in a way it doesn't do when it's burning. It pulses very slightly, not visibly, not in any way you could point to, but in a felt way. In the way that something warm and alive will seem to breathe even when it isn't breathing. The glow is red and orange and shifts toward gray at the edges where the heat is less. You watch it, not for any reason. Because it is there, because you are here, because the watching requires nothing and the fire asks nothing in return. The night sounds have settled into their late-night arrangement, fewer insects than earlier, no birds, just the occasional very distant sound from whatever lives beyond the edges of the camp, sounds that are simply there and do not require response. Your breathing is slow. Your eyes rest on the coals without effort. The waiting softens. It has been doing this for a while, going from the sharp attentiveness of morning, the distributed watchfulness of afternoon, the gentle patience of evening, and now this, a waiting that is barely distinguishable from rest, that barely knows it is waiting at all. You are not watching for anything now. You are not attending to any particular thing. You are just here, warm enough, tired enough, still enough, The coals dim very slowly. Somewhere in this dimming, the waiting ends. Not because something happened, not because the wait was rewarded or resolved, but because the body, having waited all day in so many different ways, has simply arrived at the place where waiting is no longer what it's doing. It is resting now. You are resting. The ground holds you. The air holds the warmth the fire gave. The dark is soft and full. The camp breathes around you in the slow rhythm of sleeping people, and you are among them, and you have been here all day. And the day is done, and there is nothing more to wait for until the light comes back. Which it will, it always does. Gentle Human History.